Welcome to the Dating with Katy podcast, where today I'm going to be sharing with you 2 more C's. Now, if you hadn't had a chance, go back, listen to my last podcast. I talk about 3 very important C's in a relationship. That is chemistry, connection, and compatibility. Now, coming today, we are going to be talking about communication and compromise. Without these, good luck. You're not even going to be able to date or even have a relationship. And look, I'm no relationship expert, but I seem to be doing pretty good in the one that I have. So first, let me just thank my sponsor, Cinqe Matchmaking. That's Cinque.com. Guys, the link is below. Get in my network. Be a part of a vetted quality system of dating. And if you'd like to become a client, that too, when you get in the network, you can choose that. You want to make sure that you're either choosing matchmaking. I have a wing girl program where I pretend I'm you online, or you can also just get coaching with me. Plus, I can do your bios and photos and make sure that you are ready to get confident, be successful, and have some fun dating. Now, I want to share with you one of my favorite books, and we did this as a group on Instagram about a year ago, and I pulled it out again. Heck, even my 18-year-old daughter read it and told my son, her older brother, to read it as well. And it's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. If you have not gotten the book, go get it. This is not a paid advertisement. This is I am here to help you not only get a date, but get in a relationship and do it well. And this book is so great in understanding the opposite sex, because that's the goal, isn't it? So one of the things I'm going to read to you today, and this is, we talked about it in the last episode, this is a quote, and it says, "The number one complaint women have in relationships is, I don't feel heard." Even this complaint is misunderstood by men. That's the irony. We speak 2 different languages, and I always like to say, men, did you hear her heart? And ladies, I know that men want to ride or die. So it's often 2-way street. So grab the book. I think you're really going to love it. Mine is all written up, and there's a special part in the back of the book. And I never have read it until recently when I got in a argument with my boyfriend, and I needed some help. I needed to figure out, how do we walk through this difficult part? And again, I talk about compatibility. Are we compatible in how we go through discussions and disagreements? Because if this isn't going to work, when things get worse, when something really bad happens, are we going to dissolve? Are we going to stonewall? Is this even going to be functional? So I looked through the back of this book, and he gives some great advice. He gives these practical 5 tips on what you can write to that person to share your feelings, to remind them how much you love them, and to tell them your goals, right? So in my last podcast, I did say being compatible with someone means you have the same goals. Being connected with someone means you have the same souls. And having chemistry with someone, well, it means it's about the holes. And I don't want to go into that, but it rhymed. Don't let chemistry fool you into picking someone who isn't right for you. And don't let non-chemistry on a first date take away from an opportunity to have a second date with someone you could be very compatible with. So go back, listen to that podcast. But let's talk about today's 2 really important things. And I am not going to talk to you about how to deep dive into deep communication with someone in a relationship, or even how to compromise deeply in a deep, long-term, years-long relationship. This is just beginning stages stuff, because I found that so many of my clients get upset and frustrated that, 1, communication is just terrible. The irony is, with so many forms of communication these days, it should be the easiest thing, and it should be so fluid between 2 people, but it is not. A lot is holding people back. And then on compromise, people get so stuck in their ways that they're not open to change and new things. So let's get to the nitty-gritty right now. The first one I'm going to talk about is communication. This is huge. Now, if you haven't had a chance, I have a podcast on sexy banter. It's about podcast 20, where if you are online dating and you are chatting with people in the DMs, you've got to be engaging and how to move that and through that quickly so you can get into real life, from DM to IRL. That's another podcast. And I think the frustration that I hear from women first is that, he's not making a move. And then from men, I hear all she wants to do is keep chatting in the DMs. So if you go back and listen, I'm going to give you this quick tip. Guys, women want you to lead the way in this. So they want you to say something like, "Hey, I'm not sure how comfortable you are, but I'd love to take this off the app and give you a phone call. Please let me know if I can text you and set up a time to do that." whatever it is. And if she's a good communicator, she will communicate back. Yes, that sounds great. Please text me and I will set that time up. So you have a good opportunity to chat in a comfortable time for her and everybody is happy. Now, ladies, if you're the girl who just wants to stay in the app and I'm too afraid to give away my phone number and what if he's a psycho, you probably shouldn't be dating. If you want to really stay in the app, fine, use the app, but move it quickly. No one's here to waste anybody's time. So make sure that we are moving quickly into the real world, into getting a date, because that's the goal of dating. So you've got to first know what is your best method. And if you're dating someone, you need to ask, do you like texting? Do you like DMing and Instagram? Do you like phone calls? Huge differences right there. And some people are always on Instagram. Some people love text. I can tell you as a busy mom, I love to text because I can open it later and see it and read it and remember to do it. I never check my phone messages, which is sad, but that's the truth. So if I'm dating someone, I need to communicate to him or he needs to ask me, I know you're a busy woman. I know you're a busy gentleman. What is the best way to, relay messages with you so that we can schedule things and have great communication? So first things first, please make sure that you ask or that you offer your best form of communication. Now, ladies, I know you're going to say, well, he should ask me. He should know. No, men don't read minds. So just offer it early and offer it clearly. The next thing is, what is your expectation? How much do you really want to chat with someone? I know when guys get really excited about a girl, they can sometimes overly text. Or women can overly text a guy and be a little bit too verbose while he's busy with his workday. So make sure that in that opportunity of explaining how and how often, you are going to make sure that that's clear for both of you. Now, here's another one, emojis and memes. I get it. It's part of communication now. It can actually help set the tone for a text. What was he implying? What did she mean by this? I'm not talking about squashes and peaches here. I am talking about smiley faces and interactive fun things. I dated a guy once. He always did 3 emojis, so they turned out giant. I actually felt like he was just being lazy. Rather than writing something like, oh, you look gorgeous, he just write fire, fire, fire. And I thought, to me, that seemed a little lazy. It kind of started to bug me after a while. And he still does it to this day, so I think it's so ironic. It's just who he is. That might not be something you can change in someone, but you can communicate how you feel about an emoji. Memes, a lot of people don't like them, or they hate waking up to a meme every morning from a guy. It's not personal. So make sure that you understand where they are in that whole realm of memes, emojis, and even DMing reels on Instagram. I mean, how many times can you do that without picking up a phone and calling the person and checking in? So that's the next one, is check-ins. How much do you like to have a check-in, especially in the early stages of dating? Now, I know every woman who is smitten on a guy loves a good morning text. I can't say it enough. I just posted it on Instagram today. The good morning text, if you beat her to it, and ladies, I don't suggest you be sending him good morning texts. That's his job because he's to pursue you. It melts her heart, and it's such a great way to start her day. Kudos to those guys who are doing it. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it, maybe ask yourself why. Maybe you're not that into her. She wants to know that you're into her, so those good morning texts are huge. Check-ins throughout the day. How's your day going? Ladies, I think you can totally ask a guy that. If you know he had a busy day, if something special was on the calendar, check-ins like, hey, I can't wait to see you on Friday night. Those are fantastic. That is just good communication in the beginning stages of dating, you guys. Where are you traveling in 2023? You're traveling with me. You're traveling on the Dating with Katy single trips. Our first one will be in January to bring in the 2023 in warm weather, poolside, tequila shots, all included at the beautiful Breathless Resort. Bring your bestie, sign up, make it your Christmas gift to yourself, because in that middle of winter, you're going to be happy that you joined us. Space is limited. Then if you want a more difficult trip, well, I say that as a pun, you're going to want to join us for 10 days in Tuscany, where we will be difficultly drinking wine, looking for truffles, sitting by the beaches, going through the small communities of Lucca and the churches and the bars, and everything is included in that trip as well. You will want to join me. Space is limited. Make sure you click, sign up, put your down payments, and I will see you in Cancun and in Italy. Here's another one. Calendar. I mean, even with dating now, I always calendar out. People are busy, and that is one of the biggest things is scheduling. Even as a matchmaker, when I have to schedule my clients, I mean, there are times when it's going to take 3 weeks to get somebody on a date, and it's crazy. So calendaring out with somebody is a great form of communication. If you're dating long distance, I highly recommend that you calendar out on the last time that you see each other for the next time, because then I know as a woman, your heart feels secure. It's on the books. I'm leaving today, or I'm not going to see him for a while, but I know there's going to be a next time, and that's huge. Safety and her feeling safe and secure in you is huge. So guys, pull out your calendar. Even if you got to do an invite, do what you got to do. And lastly is your tone of voice. So if and when you are on the phone, make sure you're in a time and a space where you're not stressed, you're not struggling, you're not screaming out the window at some driver. It's really not attractive. So watch that tone of voice. I mean, even my dad used to say to me, Katy, you come on like a ton of bricks. Well, what he didn't understand is that I'm highly passionate about what I do. And sure, I could definitely tone it back if and when the situation needs. So I'm even teachable. That's important. Well, let's move on to compromise, which is all about being teachable and flexible and open. And I think the biggest thing here is for you to know that you can't lose your voice in this. I know in my marriage, I lost my voice. You could say it's compromise, but I stopped talking and I stopped sharing and I stopped communicating what I wanted. And so number one, it's super important that you actually know what you really want or how you feel about something. And that might need a timeout. Sometimes you need to take a break and communicate that to someone and say, hey, look, I'm not sure how I feel about that, or I'm not sure if that's really something I want to do. Can I take some time to think about it? Can I take a couple days? Can I take a couple hours? Give a timeline and communicate that to someone so that you can really be sure of how you feel, so you can never feel like you were made to do something. A compromise is not something somebody makes you do. For example, currently my boyfriend he wants to go on a better budget. He wants to have more money for us to travel, whatnot. Well, he has a brand new lease on a beautiful car. And I mentioned maybe drop the lease and get a smaller budgeted car. And look, he chose to do that. And at the end of the day, he cannot be upset with me because I didn't make him do it. I gave him a creative solution, which is my step number 3, a creative solution, offered some advice, but he ultimately made the choice. And so you always have to make sure that you are never going to hold this against somebody. It's a mutual concession. So I don't care what car he drives. It doesn't matter to me. I know he loved that car. He can always get it again. But right now, he said his focus is that we would travel and travel together and do more of that. So what a blessing to me. And if he ever brings up the car, and he said he never will, then I'll know that this was not, a well-communicated exchange. But I love that he did it. So good job, A for effort for him. So make sure that you just have these creative solutions. Really work through different opportunities. Even with my kids, I'm always like, what's the creative solution to this? How can we do this better? What would be the best compromise? What would work for you? What would work for them? And I love to liken it to this idea that when you're young and you're getting married, you're like two entrepreneurs coming together. You think everything's going to work out great, and then you divorce. Many of my listeners have been there. They understand that. And now you're out dating again. And the best way to date is to think of it as a merger. You've got company A with company B, and they've got to come together, but they've got to be compatible and they've got to work. So it doesn't matter how cute you guys look together. It doesn't matter what the chemistry is like. If the merger doesn't work, the merger shouldn't happen. And that's where compromise coming into these two things is so important. Now, some of the examples would be, what about moving? Is somebody going to move? And coming up in one of my podcasts, I'll be talking about long distance dating. I do it, I've done it, and there are definitely great ways to make it work. So would you be willing to move? Kids and their involvement. How much do you want? How much do they want? Who pays? Who drives? A lot of people have to drive now. I mean, your pond ain't so great sometimes, so you got to go find another pond and find somebody great in that area. So who's going to do the driving? Who does the planning? This is where the compromise comes. And for example, the planning. In the beginning stages, I'm going to suggest men, you plan. Go back and listen to podcasts about 21 about planning dates. Women want you to lead in that. But at the same time, maybe this guy's super busy. Maybe he doesn't know your area. Help him out a little bit, ladies. Give him 3 restaurants you'd like to do. After he picks a restaurant, say, hey, look, I know you're really busy in this season or whatever he's doing. Let me make the reservation. There's nothing wrong with that. And for most of the people I know, women do a lot of the planning. I know, women are busy just as much as men nowadays, but look, I love and I'm highly invested in food and cool opportunities, so I don't mind doing that. But I've also explained and communicated that I need in this relationship for you to plan birthday for me, a fabulous birthday, and a fabulous Valentine's Day for me. So that's that's his job to plan those things, and my job is to plan our regular stuff. So these are just great examples of how we compromise and how we communicate. And I'm telling you, those two things for a quality relationship to last are going to need to be essential. So make sure that you're doing your part to work on them. Thanks so much for joining today. Make sure you subscribe. You're going to hear all the rest. They're going to start to get spicy. I'm going to share details, and we will talk to you soon. I want you to get confident, be successful, and have some fun dating.